Mary, and these families are thankful tonight. They know how lucky they are to make that treacherous escape. I talked to one couple from Linwood who was just camping, and they got that go now alert, and it was mayhem from here. And as we know tonight, those fires are still burning.
Oh my gosh, you literally cannot see anything.
What started as a camping trip at Sun Lakes in eastern Washington ended up a daunting and dangerous escape from the Cold Springs wildfire that is still raging.
We've never been so scared in our life.
Jordan and his girlfriend Selena got caught in the chaos of families abandoning camp after alerts suddenly went off. Their original route on Highway 2 was closed as wildfire smoke and ash blacked out the sun for hours.
Like for us, I refer to that road as like the road to hell.
Yeah.
Because that's where our trip totally took a turn.
They drove in the near darkness with a half a tank of gas.
You can just see all the dust just like come off the top of the car, like coming down onto the window. I'm like, I have never seen this in my life. It's crazy.
Oh my God, you cannot get, no, don't go that way. You got to go the other way.
Cora Nordby documented her escape from her Mansfield ranch while the wind-fueled fire trapped the whole town.
Just want to show you what it looks like out the barn door.
They lost miles and miles of fencing, pastures, and equipment.
There's so many people that are still struggling with the fire, and it's everywhere now. It's just crazy.
But they're thinking about the families still reeling from the wildfires, knowing it's far from over.
I just hope everyone's staying safe really during these times.
Some people may have not been so lucky like us to get out.
When Governor Jay Inslee sizes up a massive wildfire like this one, he has no doubts as to the cause.
They're not just wildfires, they're climate fires. They're not caused by an act of God. They're caused by climate change.
And once again, he went on the attack over President Donald Trump's comments while touring a wildfire-ravaged area in California.
And people in those conditions deserve a president who are going to help them.
The Trump administration has gutted many environmental regulations, and some are tied to climate change. Trump says states should do a better job of thinning forests if they want to reduce the wildfire threat.
When you have years of leaves, dried leaves on the ground, it just sets it up. It's really a fuel for a fire. So they have to do something about it.
Yeah. Today he said that the problem were leaves on the forest floor. What a bunch of ignorance.
Inslee says the situation is dire, and better forest management is just one piece of the puzzle. In an open letter, he called on Trump to be a better partner and acknowledged the earth is heating up because of us.
The only moisture in my state today in eastern Washington are the tears from people who've lost their homes.
During CHOP,
violence is being brought to this place.
Andre Taylor, one of the most visible police accountability activists in the city, came there to de-escalate tensions. But he was chased out by demonstrators, accusing him of being on the city's payroll. We're now learning he was about to. A week before that shouting match, the city signed their portion of a contract for $150,000 a year to Taylor's organization, not this time, to be a street czar, the city's first.
What is a street czar?
I know the term street czar is quite provocative. So a street czar is a person that has a particular genius in a particular area.
For Taylor, that genius, he says, is his experience at de-escalation and a go-between the city and others.
Having sit-downs with gang members where they won't sit down with anybody else, and pimps and prostitutes and people.
You see, is that your role as,
well,
as the
I'm broadening it out for you.
Taylor says it's a continuation of a $100,000 a year contract in 2019 for a speaker series his group put together.
No one raised any questions about the $100,000 that the city gave us for conversations with the streets. And we are kind of bewildered that people are now raising an issue about $150,000 for our de-escalation efforts that we've been doing since my brother Shay Taylor was killed. It's amazing to me. It's a non-starter and a non-issue.
In a statement, the Department of Neighborhoods says Taylor's role will be to assist the city with de-escalation and community engagement, as well as provide recommendations on alternatives to policing.
Me as a black man have the right to be paid for my genius or for whatever my organization can provide. Black people as a whole have not been in a place to be compensated for their genius or their work for a very, very long time.
Tomorrow, we expect to get more information about a much-anticipated final report on Boeing's grounded 737 MAX jets.
The focus is on 2 deadly plane crashes involving the aircraft. KOMO's Tammy Mutasa is live with what House committee investigators are expected to find. Tammy?
Mary, and that House committee report is over 200 pages. And tomorrow, we expect to learn more about what investigators say Boeing and the FAA should have done to prevent those horrific plane crashes. Now, the Boeing 737 MAX planes have been grounded for more than a year after the Lion Air crash in Indonesia and the Ethiopian Airlines crash in Ethiopia killed 346 people just months apart. The U.S. House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure did an 18-month-long investigation of the design, development, and certification of that 737 MAX aircraft. The report is embargoed until tomorrow morning, but in an interim report released in March, House investigators said they identified 5 recurring themes that painted, quote, a disturbing picture of Boeing's development and production of the 737 MAX and the FAA's ability to provide appropriate oversight of Boeing's 737 MAX program. We're also learning House investigators will also release interview transcripts with 2 high-ranking executives who said they didn't know what was going on with the flight stabilization system known as the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System that was later tied to the 2 deadly crashes. Now, we talked to aviation expert Scott Hamilton about it.
As reported, it appeared pretty damning that Leverkusen and Teal did not know what was going on with the MCAS. They didn't know that it was tied to a single sensor. They didn't know that it had been redesigned or designed to trigger multiple times.
Now, in the meantime, regulators around the world are almost finished with their process to approve the plane to fly again. Now, I reached out to Boeing for comment, and officials told me Boeing is expected to release a statement tomorrow morning. Back to you.
Thank you, Tammy. Some sad.
Preston, we were told Sawant was not giving interviews tonight, although her supporters call this a right-wing attack backed by corporate interests. Whatever happens, her legal defense will be covered by the taxpayers. Scenes like this one, where protesters were allowed into Seattle City Hall after hours, are among the complaints a judge will be asked to consider in a recall push of Councilmember Sawant. She's also accused of taking part in a protest march to Mayor Jenny Durkin's home. Her own council colleagues have their issues with her.
I passionately disagree with many actions and positions of Councilmember Sawant, and she certainly disagrees with me too.
But with victories like the $15 an hour minimum wage and fight for tenant protections, Sawant has also built a dedicated base of support.
Councilmember Sawant has been such a champion for the folks who have been left behind by the tech boom, and just the really unbelievable housing market of the past decade.
Sawant asked the council to cover her legal bills if the recall goes forward and got a 7-to-1 vote to approve.
We have a process for picking our elected representatives. It's not recalls, it's through elections.
Members of the recall campaign declined to go on camera, saying they'd save their comments for the judge. They do say they have a long list of missteps that they say make Sawant unfit for office.
Of course, she's also made enemies. But honestly, I think that's kind of a testament to her effectiveness. Right?